Scene one, take three. I've always wanted to do that, so I got the slate for something we did last fall, recording one of our piano students. I didn't have it then. I've got it out for next fall. I've never done that before. So anyways, this is kind of an unusual, this is my news and notes, or a que pasa, whatever you want to call it. The reason for it is bring you guys up to date on some things that have happened over the last 3 weeks. And it's hard to believe it's only been 3 weeks. Guy came that close to dying 3 weeks ago today. Can you see the gap? Very close. What happened was, in the afternoon, I started getting chills. And, well, usually I get a chill, I go to bed, get warmed up or something like that. That's the normal thing to do. But this time, didn't work out quite that way. I went to bed and Gail could not wake me up. She found out I was just convulsing and things like that. So she called our nurse line, our healthcare nurse line, and the nurse said, "Don't eat anything, don't do anything, get him to the hospital now." And Gail said, "Oh, okay." Well, she tried to get me up because she couldn't handle it because I'm too heavy for her to handle. So what she did was she called 911 like a good little girl, and they packed me into an ambulance and handed me off to the emergency room. I do not remember a word of it. From the time I went to bed, the time I woke up became conscious in the emergency room, I don't remember a thing. But she says I was coherent, talking to people. They were asking me what day is this, what month is it, and I was able to answer all the questions, which I should. So I hadn't done that, but it really did block out my memory nicely. Anyhow, so they got in there and they determined that what I had was sepsis. In other words, I had a bunch of garbage in the blood, and it was floating around doing all kinds of nasty things. Had a fever, really shaking pretty bad, and they said that when this happens, you have about a 6-hour window before you get into a septic shock. Fortunately, they were able to get to me and work on me before that happened, so I was moved into intensive care, which kind of shocked me a little bit because after I got out of the emergency room, they moved me into a CVICU, cardiovascular intensive care unit. I looked up at the sign as I was going down the hallway and said, "Wait a minute, do I have a heart problem too?" They said, no, we just track you better in here. So I had that room for a couple of days. I was pretty bad, pretty sick. Not throwing up or anything, but I just wasn't with it. I was gone. And fortunately, I didn't go all the way, because my dream says I was knocking on death's door, and nobody answered, fortunately. So anyways, that brings you up today. I see that I just entered the intensive care unit. I spent a couple of days there. They managed to get things under control to some degree, but they took so much blood out of me. I mean, taking quarts out of me. I couldn't believe it. For all the testing, they had to take cultures and grow the culture so they could determine what kind of a bug it was that was infecting me. Well, they did that, they did that, they did that. And then finally, after about 2 days, they moved me up to a room upstairs in a neurology section, which was good. I got, all the time I was getting good treatment. I only missed one meal. That's when I was in intensive care downstairs. One lunch, I looked at it, I said, I can't handle it. So I didn't eat it, which, if you know me very well, that's a very major thing when I don't eat lunch. Anyhow, so I was up there for a couple of days, and they did blood, and they did this, and they did that, and I guess I wouldn't even get up to pee. I'd use the urinal because I was just too tired, and I was always hooked up to something, it seemed. They did all kinds of drips, potassium, magnesium, antibiotics, all this kind of junk. Let's see. They came in one day and they said, "We're going to put a PICC line in." See, they talked about sending me home with more oral antibiotic, but then they decided that wasn't going to cut it, so they decided they put a PICC line in. Now, I did not know what a PICC line was. So when they came in, they said, "We're going to send you downstairs to have a PICC line installed." I said, "No, you're not. I'm not going to go down there. I'm not going to have anything stuck to my body." And so I said, "No." Well, later that afternoon, the doctor came by and said, explained to me what a PICC line was, and I realized, well, okay, we'll do that. So they put a PICC line in, which was very painless. It was just like you're going to be executed with the arm strapped down and stuff like this. Is, by the way, this is where it went in. They took all the tubes out yesterday, so I can't show you. Well, I'll show you them in a few minutes. So they put that in. That was a piece of cake. There was no pain at all. I could actually look at the fluoroscope and I could see where the line went up in here, just above the heart. Well, here. Unless you're Doctor Who, then he's got two of them. But anyways, they put that in, and they could draw blood or infuse me. So they sent me home after, I think, 4 days, 5 days, I think it was. You know something, friends? I'll tell you something. The last day or two I was in there, I woke up, looked out the window at the trees, and I said, you know, God's sure wonderful. Those trees are absolutely beautiful. I was so close to meeting him, and it was just awesome to see wonderful things. There was a bird landed on the roof over across the way, and you know, I thought, oh, that poor animal, God even knows about that animal. He certainly knows about me, and he's certainly looking out for me somehow. And so in other words, that was that part of the story. Now, let me continue on. I have some props here to show you. Get rid of that. This is a PICC line. Like I say, I didn't know what this was. This red colored thing, blue purple colored thing, is the line that went from my arm up into toward my heart. And this is the thing they pulled out yesterday, which was a piece of cake. This was taped down, and then they just go, comes out. These are the two infusion lines. We alternated them back and forth every day. We'd clean one and use the other one. We're cleaning it with whoops, a little bit left in there. This a saline solution, and then afterwards we use heparin to it's a blood thinner. We'd infuse it with that. What we use for the infusion, got my prop table over here. This is the thing with the antibiotic was in. It's flattened out now, but it's a ball. It's like a ball. It's like a hand grenade, we called it, and it was full. And then it compresses itself down like that. I guess you can probably see it. And then this line then goes into one of these lines over here. It kind of plugs in. You sit there for half an hour, and it infuses itself. I don't know how it does it, but it must be the difference in pressures, because this will eventually flatten out when it's done. Like this is all flattened out. I had them save me this one. And that's what we did for the last, until yesterday. What's that? Oh, my controller. Yesterday they pulled out the PICC line. I've had home nursing care. They taught us how to put this thing in and how to do it. And after 3 days of them doing it, well, after 2 days of them doing it, Gail picked up enough of how to do it, so she started doing it, and they supervised on the 3rd day. And so he's been doing it for almost 2 weeks now. We're kind of glad to get rid of that, because you know that's a nuisance. Because that was always installed. You know, you got this hanging out over here, and so you have a little thing you wrap here, and then you wrap a cloth around it like a sock to hold it in place. Well, that means you're sleeping with that stuff all the time, and that's no fun. Anyways, I prattled enough, perhaps. The simple fact is, I'm alive. I'm pretty well. In fact, actually, I was feeling pretty good before I left the hospital. Like I say, I only missed one meal. Ate pretty good, actually. Lost weight in the process, and it must be because of serving sizes. That's what they tell me, anyways. Anyways, I thought I'd bring you all up to date. Most of you don't know that this has been going on. Like I said, this is Audio's and writing this stuff in an email or something. I just thought I'd put it on YouTube and let you figure out what you want to do with it. It's been a trying time for both of us, because Gail was really, really frantic the day it happened, because she didn't know what to do really, and if she hadn't called that nurse line and she hadn't told her to get me out of there, I don't know what would happen. Then the ambulance was delayed. The EMS people came by and they stabilized me the best they could. Then the ambulance came by and took me to the hospital, all of which I just so mad because I don't remember a bit of that. And I've always wanted to ride in an ambulance. Doesn't everybody want to ride in an ambulance at some time or another? So at Roden, I don't remember anything about that. It's so frustrating because I just feel cheated. All that money for nothing. We did, they did pretty good. Like I say, the hospital did well by me. They just knew enough to get me right in there, right now, as soon as I came through the door. So I guess this kind of a situation is common to have a person go into septis and quickly before you get into shock. So I was very grateful for the people. They were all very nice. I'm feeling pretty good, pretty much back to normal. I'm going to pull this bandage off tonight or tomorrow. I'm paranoid. I have to confess, I'm a little paranoid about this. For instance, if this had happened when we were on a cruise ship, you wouldn't be seeing this video, because I probably would not have made it. Because they would have had to do what they could on the ship and then somehow get me off, probably in some place like Mexico. And I don't want to go to a hospital in Mexico, let's put it that way. Anyways, I'm alive, I'm well, and I guess that's about all I wanted to say. You can all write back. I've probably given you enough information to bore you totally, so we'll just call it quits, okay? Okay, clap, clap.